Hello, everybody. This is Tyler Preston 20, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite movies from 2019. Now, 2019 is well known for like a lot of different movies. For example, practically like almost all the movies that came out in 2019 were like 3-hour epics. And of course, we saw like a lot of famous franchises throughout 2019. And I figured that I'll share you guys my favorite movies that came out last year. Now, before I start my list, of course, be sure to check me out on, of course, Twitter, as well as the various social media sites such as Facebook, and also more recently, I got a Hello Talk. You can find my social media accounts at Tyler Preston 20. Now, the list that I'm going to share with you guys are not in any kind of particular order. Like, practically all the movies are like in no particular order. But I'll tell you what's my favorite movie once I get to it for 2019. So let's begin. Of course, my favorite one so far of 2019 that came out last year is obviously Godzilla King of the Monsters. Now, I noticed that like a lot of critics actually hated this movie so much. But as far as the score for like Rotten Tomatoes is concerned, like the majority of the audience who watched the movie, I believe, enjoyed the movie. I remember when it came out last year, like it was like a super packed theater where I was at. And so when I saw the movie for the first time at this theater before getting the copy on Blu-ray, I really enjoyed just how fun and action packed it was really is. Now, people complain about the human element, but for the most part, I don't think people watch Godzilla movies for the human element. I think people watch Godzilla movies to have fun and see the monster fights. Now, I was introduced to Godzilla back in 2004. I think the first ever movie I saw prior to like the Japanese movies were actually the American remake from 1998, and I still cannot believe just how bad it was. That was just terrible. But when I saw the Japanese movies, I started to develop an appreciation of the franchise. And so I always wanted to see just how Hollywood could take like a concept like Godzilla onto the big screen. And sure enough, it's like what I thought it would be. Like all the special effects are fantastic. The action is fantastic. Just it's really cool to see like the famous monsters like King Ghidorah and Mothra and Godzilla and Rodan all in stunning high definition, high CGI. I definitely love this movie a lot, and this is why it's like one of my favorites from last year. As far as my other favorite for like last year, that would be like of course Brightburn. Now Brightburn, of course, is like basically the best way to describe this movie is like Superman goes bad. This is essentially like this whole entire movie is just Superman goes bad, and of course, you get to see like the Superman character just killing off not the bad guys rather, but like all these characters at once with the superpowers. It is like so funny. Like this movie was not scary to me at all, but I loved it anyway. Like I always wanted to see just how Superman can just turn evil. Now, I'm not a fan of Superman. I think Superman is like the most boring character ever. Like of all the characters, Superman is like my least favorite superhero. That said, when I see this movie at the theater, it was like empty, like there was like nobody there. And I think that James Gunn, the guy behind like the movies for Guardians of the Galaxy, he was actually behind this movie as a producer. And I think the movie was really fun because obviously, like it was cool to see like a horror movie element for superheroes. Because most of the time for superhero movies, you get to see the superhero do superhero stuff, but you never see like a twist on that story. And so that's why I really enjoy watching Brightburn. Now, the next movie on the list is Alita Battle Angel. Now, this movie, to my surprise, was also really good. Now, this was actually done by Robert Rodriguez, and Robert Rodriguez is well known for various movies. He is well known for like Machete. He is well known for Sin City, He also did El Mariachi, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, Grindhouse. This guy pretty much does really good movies for Grindhouse stuff, and also he done like the Spy Kid movies, if I'm not mistaken. But this movie was also written and also produced by James Cameron. So when we have a character like the combination between James Cameron and also Robert Rodriguez, you get a fantastic film. Like sure enough, it's like the most mainstream movie he possibly has ever done for like, of course, what was the guy Robert Rodriguez. Now this is actually based upon a Japanese manga, and as everybody know, like every time like Hollywood just adapt like Japanese stuff onto the big screen, it's not that great. However, with the exception of Godzilla and this movie, like most of it is like really bad, really terrible. But this movie, I never read the manga before, but it was so good. I was surprised how fantastic it was. And I definitely recommend you guys to watch this movie if you guys have a chance to see it. Now, the next movie on my list for like my favorite ones from 2019, obviously, is this movie, Sajam. Now, this film was like so funny, absolutely hilarious. Like, I cannot believe like how funny it was. Like at moments, it was like super serious. At moments, it was super funny. Like, I think it was like the best, like one of the best superhero movies that came out last year, just how funny it is. It's actually funnier than most comedies that I've seen last year. That's how funny it is. So of course, Sajam is also on my list of favorite films of 2019. Of course, 2019 is not complete, of course, without having like John Wick on the list. Now, John Wick, you don't watch John Wick for the story, not at all. Like the main reason why you want to see like John Wick is for him to kick butt and take names. That's it. Like all the action scenes that were done in this movie was just fantastic. Like all of it was just so fun to watch. Like there was like moments like when I saw the movie at this theater, there was like moments where the audience just like ooh and awe at everything. Like we were laughing at stuff, we were just like surprised at stuff, like all the stuff that we saw in this movie. We had a blast. It was a blast to watch. It was definitely like a fun movie. Now, if I were to rank it as like my favorite John Wick movie, I'm not sure. I think the best one so far is actually the second one, but this one is also really good. Like all the John Wick movies are really good. So, of course, you cannot complete a list of 2019 without John Wick. Now, this one is like my absolute favorite of like last year. Okay, like the other movies I show you guys was actually, of course, really good, but this is like my absolute favorite one from last year, and it's of course the Joker. Like the movie had like so much ridiculous controversy last year, so much. Like there was like so many critics who were trying to say that this movie might inspire real life violence. And then, of course, we have to, have people not wear like the Joker outfit and stuff as theaters because of how ridiculous the controversy was. And sure enough, nothing happened. And of course, it made like $1 billion at the box office. And I'm actually really glad, despite all the odds against this movie, how it basically blew up in the critics, how basically it was actually successful. And of course, I love this movie. It was like super good, like so good. I talked about it on my channel at least 2 different times. And of course, if you guys are curious about my thoughts about this movie, check out the live streams for this movie. But it was so good. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. But it's like absolutely the best film from like last year. Let's see what else is on my list. I'm gonna check right now. Of course, Marriage Story was also really good. Now, this movie has, of course, like Scarlett Johansson, and of course that guy from Star Wars. I forgot his name. I'm so sorry. But like the performances are also really good, like super good. Like I think, like I thought, like all of it was really depressing because pretty much like most Americans, I think, according to the statistics, like most American couples are actually divorced, like 50%, compared to other 50% of people who are not divorced. And so this movie has actually hit some really deep for me because I actually do not have like my parents, they're not married, they're actually divorced. And so I cannot possibly imagine like the whole process behind this kind of stuff. Like I don't like I was too young to remember this whole entire process, but like I just felt like, you get really engaged with the process of the divorce. It was sad. It's like one of the saddest movies from last year, of course. Now, my other favorite one that came out last year was obviously, let's see, where is that movie? I cannot find it. Oh, there it is. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, this movie was directed by Quentin Tarantino. He is known for, like, of course, Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, what else? Django Unchained, and Glorious Bastards, and these other films. And I think this is like his best movie done so far, besides Pulp Fiction. It was like his best movie in a long time. Like you have, of course, like all these characters, like Al Pacino. You get like, of course, Leonardo DiCaprio. You get Brad Pitt. Like all the characters, like all the character actors that you see, they're all in this movie. And oh my god, like towards the ending of this movie, like it was like so intense, like super intense, like how crazy violent it got. But like in the movie, you get to see like the character, like he was like a Westerner. He played like in these like Western productions, and sure enough, he had like a stunt guy who does like the stunts for him, and it follows the stories of his dad. That's the most I'm gonna say about this movie, but it was like super good, like really super good. Of course, on my list of my favorite movies from last year, let's see, I got like almost all of them done. I have like two more to go. Like it was like 10, right? So it's like two more to go. Of course, is The Irishman. Now, The Irishman, just like with like Marriage Story, it was not released in theater. It was actually released onto like Netflix. And it's kind of interesting because both like Marriage Story as well as The Irishman are also nominated for the Oscars. And so practically like all the movies that like Netflix done so far have been nominated for the Oscars. It's not the first time either. Like I remember back in 2018, of course, a movie that was done in Spanish was called like Roma. It was actually nominated for the Oscars too. But this movie was directed by Martin Scorsese. He'd done like movies like Taxi Driver. He also done like Goodfellas, and so it was actually really good. This movie was actually really long too. It was about I think 3 hours long, so it was ridiculously long, but it was also really fun to see. Now it talks about like how this guy, he was like Robert De Niro's character, how he was working for this guy from Italy. And so I'm not gonna say any more about the movie, but check out this movie. It's like 3 hours long, and it's definitely a watch. Now, finally, my last movie on the list for 2019 is, of course, the movie It Chapter Two. Now, I think It Chapter Two actually is better than the first part, to my knowledge. Like the first movie, it was like, of course, what was it, 2 hours long. This movie was 3 hours long. It was like so much better to me. Maybe it's me. Maybe because I don't like the kiss that much. But I found the kiss to be so annoying in that movie for the first part. So the second part was actually much more bearable for me than the than the last part. It was also, to my surprise, really funny. Like like there was like scenes in the movie that made me laugh so much. It's not because it was actually not scary, but it's because it was actually intentionally funny to me. And so I believe the book was actually like what was it, like hundreds of pages long. And so I'm actually, not surprised there was like two parts for that movie. But I think the second part is actually better than the first part. So sorry. But anyway, that's my top 10 favorite movies from 2019. What are you guys' favorite movies from 2019? Tell me in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.